What we do here is go back, 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 back.
No, I certainly can't sing. I feel like I'm supposed to sing with this thing. Okay, my name is Ruth Bush. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I lived in Rhode Island in the mid-'80s. I worked for Hasbro for about 3.5 years, somewhere in the mid-'80s. They hired me to be a package designer for girls' toys. As it turned out, I ended up working predominantly on My Little Pony. However, I often did Jem, Real Baby, Get in Shape Girl, Fairy Tales, but My Little Pony was the bulk of my work. Anyway, I really enjoyed the packaging. I had been doing some freelance work or part-time work for another company in Providence that was called Foxon Packaging, and I got really intrigued with the packaging because they showed me the machines and how the packages went from start to finish, and I thought it was phenomenal. It was like an engineering miracle to me. Anyway, so when I got into girls' toys, we started right in the beginning. They'd give me the list of toys for the year. This is what we're going to produce for the year, most of the time. And I'd have to keep a checklist, and we had a meeting like every Tuesday, and we'd have to tell them how far we'd gotten on each toy and each package. There's more than meets the eye when it comes to packaging. Can you please turn on the... see these last two, can you bring A up first? Here is why we need packaging. If we didn't have packaging, this is the way you would see a lot of toys. Can you put on the next one, please? Shoppers. And this is a Hasbro image that I got off. You've probably seen this before. However, this is what attracts people to buying the toy. So this just shows how important packaging is. Not to mention, I personally feel the package keeps the toy immaculate, pristine, clean. You don't want to buy something that's been handled a million times, especially if you're going to give it to a small child. So this shows the importance of packaging, how important the design is to catch the eye of the shopper, especially catch the eye of the little people who want to buy, and big people who want to buy, who want to buy these toys. So I guess we can start. Let's go back to Jem. The Jem folder, please. Thank you so much for doing this. Go to Jem Doll 1986 layout. This gives you an idea of how we did package design back then, because we did not work on computers. I know it sounds really sad, but what we didn't have, we didn't miss. And the way we would do this, as you can see, this is actually done like on a drafting paper. Sometimes I'd do it in pencil, sometimes marker. I would get all the items that had to be shown on that poster, and then I'd have to do a tight layout of every item shown. You can see, I guess you can see some of the things here, like the roadster car, and once in a while they'd change something, and then we'd have to write in, we called it Greeking. When you put in a line where there would be a description, it was called Greeking back then. You just put in the lines, or you do like scribble a line to look like copy. We'd have to allot for so much space for each item. Let's see, we always had to put the logo in at a certain size. And this is the way we had package design approved. After we got this far, sometimes we would do it in color. I know I did this one in color. Do I have it? No, I'm sorry, I don't have copies of it. You know, you could spend the rest of your life taking pictures of everything you do while you're working, and you wouldn't get your work done. So I'm grateful that I have the pictures I have. Anyway, so we would often do them in color. Then they'd have to be shown to management, and then management would have to approve it. Once it's approved, it comes back to us. We would gather the pieces that are actually going to be shown, including like with the dolls, the outfits. You had to gather all the pieces so that they were accurate. From there, we would have the dolls and such dressed, schedule a photo shoot, which the art directors always did that. They did all the scheduling. I was fortunate enough to go to photo shoots in both Boston and New York. I didn't do a ton of them. I did more on the ponies than anything, but it certainly was an experience, especially going to Boston, because I hated driving in Boston. It was terrifying to me. But anyway, so we got to take all these items along with us. The dolls had to be dressed and such, and like with the ponies, we had to have all the accessories with it. And then set everything up, have the photographer do several shots. bring the photography back. The management would scour through what they liked. At that point, sometimes they'd want something corrected. We didn't have Photoshop back then. I'm sure everyone in this room knows how to use some kind of Photoshop. We didn't have it back then. If we needed to correct something, we had to send it to this company. I can't remember who they were, but the name of the machine was called a SciTech machine. They charged $500 an hour at the time, which sounds like millions really, $500 an hour to redo something on the photograph. Often with packaging, what I noticed was when we had little girl models, they were never happy with the model's hair. They always wanted the hair thicker, thicker, thicker. So you'd have these little girls with adorable blonde hair, curls and all, and if some background color showed through, oh, they didn't like that, they had to have it filled in. So that was part of the sci-teching process. That was often a case where they'd have to add more hair to the little girls, or maybe rosiness in the cheeks or whatever. So that's that. Let's see, we'll go to the next. Let's go to, well, you can show the cross-cell poster if you'd like. That would be there's the finished version. You probably all have one. I don't have one, but someone in this room knows where it is. I won't mention names. Anyway, sometimes I wish I still had it, but I'm just glad there's people out there that have these items that are collectors. So there's the finished piece. That one's laminated. I was afraid it would get dog-eared. I've been carrying these things around with me for over 30 years, and it's, you know, I could build 3 houses with samples of things from all kinds of jobs I've had. So, but that's the finished piece. Part of the thing with this is it was traditional. It's not printing like off a computer, like today. It was traditional 4-color process, which is black, yellow, magenta, and cyan. Those were the 4 process colors. When these products came out, they were working on using the neon colors. We actually had to add a 5th color in order to have the neonness of the printing. We couldn't produce the neon with the 4 traditional process colors just because it didn't produce with the 4 colors. We had to have a 5th color to add that neon color. So the printing was very expensive. It was the same case with the My Little Ponies. I remember them starting to add neon type or fluorescent type of pigment with the paints. A lot of the illustrators used gouache, which is halfway between watercolor and acrylic. It looks like acrylic, but it acts like watercolor. If you dropped water on it, it would melt again, where if it was solid acrylic, if you dropped water on it, it would just stay there. That's the difference. But with the neon colors and painting these bright colors in the outfits, we had to match those colors. And the pigments, there were special pigments that had a fluorescent quality. So if you took it to the printer and they photographed it, in order to create this 4-color process, the fluorescence did not show up, like at all. It didn't, the camera didn't see it. And that's why we had to add the fluorescent, or the neon type pigment as a 5th color, sometimes even a 6th color on the printing press. How many they used on this, I honestly have to say I can't remember, but I know there was an extra pigment added, and that's why it's so bright. I love the gem colors. I think they're great. I love them. Okay, so the next thing is, okay, let's go to flip side fashion, I believe. Or maybe this one. Yeah, do flip side fashion first. Thanks. Okay, so here's the classic color layout that we would show to management. We did do one on the front and one on the back. This one actually showed photographs on the front, and on the back we had photos of all the other options that you could buy, of course, to entice the shopper to want to buy everything. So that's how these are the basic color layouts that we did after the pencil layout. So then we did the color layouts, and that went to management, and they had to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to turn my back to you. We had to do the color in order for them to approve it. Then sometimes we have to do a second choice of a layout. Why, can I remember? No. But you can show them another one that says layout option. Okay, there's a layout option. I think it was in order to have the image of the dolls on one side, and it probably had to do with keeping in mind the die cut for the window, because when they cut these windows, it's a sort of a strip of metal, and it works along with the folding machine process where it actually cuts like a blade. It cuts the shape of that window. So the more bends and the more curves you have in it, the more expensive that die cut is, because somebody has to make that metal piece to create that die cut. Probably, I'm guessing here, but maybe today they use like more of a laser cut, possibly. But this was very tedious and hands-on, time-consuming for the printers to make the die cuts. And sometimes the printers didn't do it; they sent it out to another company that would do just those die cuts. So this was the second option here. And you do learn over a period of time the different kind of windows that you do. Some are sturdier than others. The curves are fine if you have a lot of sharp corners. You ever buy a doll in a package and then there's a rip in the package and say, oh, there's a rip, I want it to be perfect. Often has to do with that die cut. And then on top of it, them packaging them in a box where, a large carton like a, what do they call them, SKUs or whatever. If they catch on each other, they can rip easier. So the rounded curves are always safer than the sharp curves, and that's just another thing you learn along the way. So this is a sample of, option number 2 to show to management, and they would choose what they wanted. Okay, so is that all I have on this? Let me see what else is on there. Oh, let's see the hologram art. Okay, this was actually illustration. Probably some of you have this little tiny sticker at home. It was one of the first hologram stickers. I think I was still working in package design when I worked on this, but they gave this project to me to do as a little illustration. There were 2 or 3 of them, and this was one. I managed to blow it up as much as possible, because it was only 3/4 of an inch tall. Anyway, I did produce it onto a postcard. If you want a sample, I have postcards out there for sale with this on it. This was done in gouache. There might be a touch of colored pencil in there. I probably airbrushed the background. I probably stenciled and airbrushed the hair, and then I used a fine brush for the outline. Let's see what else. And then a touch of the colored pencil in the hair just for highlights. So that's the way that was put together. It was really tiny. I could see really well back then. I would have trouble doing it now. I'd probably work through I have one of those little magnifier lights at home now. It's hard, you're like breathing on it and it gets foggy, but nonetheless, I could see it. It was really tiny. So that was one of the stickers I worked on. I hope some of you have it.
Did they sell that sticker?
I don't know what it came with. I wish I could remember, but I've seen it on some of the websites. Who has that answer for me?
It was like from one of the playsets.
Yeah.
It came from the
Star Stage.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so that's most of my little samples that I have for the Jem packaging. If you want to see other things that I've done for Hasbro, they are not Jem. If you want to see them, I will show them to you. Do you want me to scroll through anything? Yes. Okay. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Let's go to Get in Shape Girl. You can click through them quickly. I don't need to. If you want to just pull them up. There's a layout for Get in Shape Girl. You can scroll through. There's a layout for Bangle Bob. Do any of you remember these pieces? Yes. Okay, Bangle Bob, Pump and Run, we had to do several layouts for the covers. There's the little exercise thing there, the little exercise chart. I guess going to the gym was really the rage back then. I kind of remember that. Yeah. Okay. And there's the finished product. Pulled it up. When that opened up, it became that exercise poster, I guess. And there was also a Get in Shape Girl mat, a pink mat. I actually gave you one of those. I don't have it anymore. But okay, these were little tags, and it was something to do with putting the tag on your doorknob while you're exercising, so nobody would bother you. Do I have that correct? Okay, so and they were several samples. They probably printed one of them. Okay, so let's go on to the next. Yeah. What else is there? Real Baby. Okay, here's a Real Baby. This is a doll that looked very real. Came in a box. We did several layouts for it. I honestly don't remember how long she was in, she went, but here's some little colored layouts for, I guess, the front of the box, the back of the box, different, baby kind of like borders. A lot of it is in magic marker. As you can see, it's just on layout paper. Little kids in the tub.
Yeah.
And there's the original pencil drawing to start with. We always did pencil first and then color. Bath time. And then there was a little name booklet I had to put together, do the artwork for the border. Okay, I think that's about it. All right, what do we have next? My Little Pony, there's a lot in here. Okay, let's do illustration first, why not? Okay, you can just scroll through. These are little illustrations that I did as freelance projects, but still for Hasbro. They came from other departments technically, and I could never say no. They said, would you paint this? Yes, of course, I'll do my best. So you probably recognize some of these. That was an album cover. Some of them, I wish I could remember the names of the, they'll come to me. The popcorn bucket label, milk carton, pony cookies. That was a record label. And that one where she's up on her hind legs, that was for a TV. That was a label that went on a TV. So that was a play set. I'll think of it. Okay, next one. Here is the Flutter Pony Hideaway, which nobody knew about, and I got several gasps when I brought this, because I had no idea, that they would be, that nobody saw this. In any event, this is the playset that everybody wants, and nobody knows where it is, or not telling. Everyone asks me, oh, do you have this playset? And I'd say no, and they'd go, really, I never had any of these prototypes unless they gave me something. But this is a sample of the playset. I know they did more than one, because if they're paying for all this molding, and they were always done overseas, when the pieces came in and they put them together, they would always do more than one. The prototypes they took to Toy Fair, which was always in New York and always in February, and they often needed several prototypes because they had individual salesmen for different regions of the country, and those prototypes would help to sell the final products. So the prototypes had to look real. Same with packaging. We did mock-ups of the packaging for a lot of the ponies, and everything else also, but I got more involved with the ponies at that point. We had to have color copies of the illustration. We would cut them into the shape of the box. We would cut out the, we had Band-Aids like you wouldn't believe. Cutting with these X-Acto knives, cutting the windows out, putting plastic windows over them so that they looked real. But back on this piece, those labels in the front, I painted those labels for this playset. What can I tell you? They were done in gouache. I did have some press proofs. I did have press proofs that they gave me samples once it got signed off. Why this wasn't produced, I don't know. I wish it were, because I myself would like one. Anyway, you can go on to the next one, please. Here's the press proofs, as you can see. This is the way the sheets came in, and then I think the finished piece would be perforated, I'm assuming, or like a peel-off sticker, and then you put it into the correct place. So these are the press proofs because they're not perforated, or there's no backing on these yet. Yeah, so that's a complete set for it. You can go on to another one. These are more stickers. This was from the Satin Slipper Sweet Shop. I painted those. There's the more Flutter Pony, and then at the end is the Pony Perm Shop. Do you remember the Pony Perm Shop? Did we all want perms back then? I wanted a perm back then. Okay. Yeah, so they were, my fear was always, I hope the parents help the kids peel the stickers and place them right, because they're hard to place exactly right. So I always thought, God, I hope their parents help them with this, because I could see them placing them, getting them wrinkled, crooked, and bursting into tears, and then that defeats the whole purpose of it, right? You don't want them to be sad. So that would go through my mind. Anyway, okay. Next, please. Go the other way. Okay, this was a pony magazine. See Screen Magazine? So the way this was printed, then it would be folded. I don't know if it was stapled, but it was probably stapled and then cut. So then the cut would crop off the white borders around it. And where did this magazine come in? I'm trying to remember what it came with. It might have come with that Pony Slumber set. Came with the popcorn and everything else. I think it might have come with that. Okay. Those are the Pony Perm labels. and all done the same way. Okay, here is a sample. I also painted these, and I had forgotten about these, but the little scallop thing on the front, this was a Poof and Puff perfume palette. So I did not do packaging on this piece, but I did the illustration for the labels, and then the little atomizer in the top, they asked me to design that. So I actually had a little layout to design that too, which was kind of fun, just decorative. Okay, is there anything else in there? Those are the satin slipper sweet shop stickers. Okay, I guess we did all of those. Okay, what else do I have? Anything else? Oh, package design, let's do that next. You can scroll through quickly. I don't want you to get all tired. Okay, so here's all boxes of ponies that I worked on. Most of them, as you can see, are press proofs. They don't have the product in them. That one over there does, because I worked on those accessories, and I think I have that also in another folder. So these are all pony boxes. These are the cards that some of the ponies came on, the blister cards, the front and the back. Now keep in mind, I didn't paint all these, I designed them, and then I had to get the product that goes in the box, do the type pencil, get the correct color. The correct color was very important because it would be deceptive if you didn't have the correct color. So we had these little PMS colors, they were called. I don't know if they still use them, it might, but Pantone matching system is what it means. We had to attach the colors, the pieces, and then the type layout, get it approved by management, and then that whole package would go to the outside illustrator. In this case, Judy Nelson was an artist illustrator for My Little Pony. Later on, they had another in-house person. His name was David Hart. Doug Hart, his name is Doug Hart. He did some My Little Pony things also. But you could see the difference in the hand. You know, the style of illustration, they were all beautiful. They all did great work. But you could see the difference in the hand. Judy Nelson had a much more delicate, feminine hand, and of course Doug's was a heavier, stronger line. You know, you could just notice those things. Okay, so here are more packages. Some of them were very large, like this piece down here. The pony, what does that say? That was a little blurry, but some of them were printed almost like a chipboard, not cardboard, but like a chipboard, heavy cardboardish, shiny on one side and printed. Others, who are even larger, were corrugated cardboard, and they put a color label around it, because I guess printing the full color on cardboard would probably be pretty expensive, so they would do the label and attach the label too. So those are two different methods there. Okay, this is packaging. I have a gem one. There's a pony cross-sell poster that had 1 million pieces in it. So, and I think that might have been one of them where someone actually asked me, well, how come we don't see this on the shelf? I don't remember which one it was, but you know, they would change things last minute, and the poster's already printed, it goes in the box. Well, I guess some customers just had to go looking for things. Okay, costume wear. I did a ton of packaging for costume wear, and I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure why, but animating them in their little outfits was like totally fun. And the girls over in R&D were designing these outfits, so they'd have to give me the outfits, and then I'd have to draw them on an animated pony, and gather the pieces, gather the PMS colors, get the layout approved, and then send that off to the illustrator, and then she'd send the illustration back. Then we'd go back to management, they'd have to approve it. Once it's approved, then we'll go from there and get it printed. So this was like a repeat process for every piece, and there were quite a few, every year there were quite a few ponies. Here's another press proof of the baby pony with first two. Okay, here are more baby pony wear, fronts and backs. The backs were always the same. Backs showed everything, and then the front, you know, each one was animated, illustrated in an animated way individually. So it's a lot of illustrations. I'm sure they have the illustrations up there somewhere yet. Hopefully they're not on eBay. Okay, I remember Doug painting this one in particular. It just looked like he had a lot of fun with it. I love the sea ponies, I guess because I'm kind of a water rat. But that's wavy. Okay. Costume wear, did we go through all of them? Oh, Yes, baby pony with first tooth. See, there's a sample. They have the window already on there. Okay. The flutter pony. Oh, I probably have it under product design, and there'll be a full. There, toy design. Oh. Okay. Okay. These are some little sketches of close-ups of, parts of the layout for the packaging. You can just cruise through them. This was for the package. It's kind of strange. I guess there was just so much work that, although I was in package design and doing a layout for the box, and they gave me the labels to do, and it just gets, you end up doing all these different parts for the same product. It's kind of fun. There it is again. One person said to me, "Oh, the bridge to nowhere." It's no, you don't get it. The bridge is up in the clouds, and it gets you to the next cloud. Oh.
Right.
Where does that bridge go to? Okay. Let's see. Let's go to toy design. Right, and I'm sorry that the quality of these are so bad, but I have been taking pictures from Polaroids that are from the 80s, so they're fuzzy. But these are different pony concepts that I worked on while I was there. I noticed some of them popped up in different areas. Sometimes you design things, you put your drawings in the drawer, and they might revive it in another year, and that happens quite a bit. And recently I've seen things that I worked on that I didn't even realize that they produced them, because you lose track. But anyway. Okay, here's a sample of how you do, this is a sample of how I do pony accessories. I had to sketch them and then give working mechanical drawings to the engineers, which was quite the feat because you had to pray that you got the measurements right. I had my little proportion rule with me. I think I could still do it, but you had to show a front view and then a side view, so show the thickness of the product. And these were pony accessories. Some of them got produced and some of them did not. Before we even got to this point, we had to do the little, I see there on the end of that picture there, but there's probably some in here, color renderings of your concepts first. You can flip through there maybe. There's the finished piece. I probably have this in backwards, I apologize for that. These are the finished pony accessories. I designed 4 sets, I think they produced 2, which was birds and flowers, and I can't read the other one. What does that say? Oh yes, kittens and teddy bears or whatever. Okay. There's this is princess pony jewelry. It had to have a faceted queen quality to it. There were hair combs, barrettes. They went in 3 different styles, so I had like a pointed faceted one, an oval and circular, to make them all like gemstones but different, so that you would want to have all of them, of course. So there's the drawings for those with the measurements, and then the side view drawings. And these go back to 86 or 87, I believe. Does it? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, here's some more princess pony jewelry that had to go along with their little hair combs. So the faceted and the oval gems and the round gems coordinated, so they would have like a coordinating set of jewelry. And that was a Polaroid of it. Here is, I'm sorry about the lettering, sometimes that's all I have. These were baby flutter pony concepts with different kinds of wings, and I know everyone loves the wings, but the wings were always delicate, and kids would break them easily, and then they'd want to replace them. So that was a baby flutter pony. And I used gel. They have colored gels. Those of you that are performers know what these are. They have these colored gels that you slide over your lights to make colored light. That's what I used to make those sample wings. I just cut them with an X-Acto. So in my mind, I thought, okay, they could die cut these and have it cut throughs, and then you could not bend them, but you pull them apart a little, give them a little 3-dimensional quality. Okay, and these are the fur bobs. You know the fur bobs from the My Little Pony movie? They had asked me to create fur bobs as a toy to sell. I do have these. These are prototype samples. I do have them with me. I can pull them out later if you'd like to see them. They never went anywhere. I know, it's really sad. I wish they would have gone somewhere. It took me decades to find out why they got killed. My understanding, they don't tell you these things. I mean, toys were being dumped left and right while we were there. I know there was a stock market issue at the time, things that my artistic brain, and I'm sure yours also. We probably don't think that way, but we think, but it's creative, we have to produce it, but they're looking at it from a bottom line type of thing. Anyway, I found the guy who wrote the movie. His name is George Arthur Bloom. He lives in Florida. And I communicated with him, and he was such a nice man. And he told me, you know, he got hired to write this story, so he technically created this character of Furbobs. And then when Hasbro worked with the movie company, Hasbro was going to create the toy, and he wanted a royalty for the toy. My guess is they didn't want to pay the royalty, so that was it. I mean, no extra money. I could be wrong on that, that's just my guess. So they didn't go anywhere. But anyway, they were a lot of fun. So, let's see. These are other little concepts that I worked on, a pony picnic set. What else do I have there? A little kitten craft set. Something with a jukebox. That's a pony sink over there, which they had just done the pony tub. Then I did a pony sink, and the pony sink I think was supposed to be for sea ponies. I don't actually think they ever did anything with that. But these are all, I'm working from little Polaroids here, so that's why the quality is not so good. Okay. I guess, is there anything else on there? Oh, there's the cup atomizer. I don't have the atomizer, I just have the Polaroid. Okay, this is how we started with the pony hair accessories, the barrettes. I had to come up with the 4 different collections. So you do a little sketches with how many pieces they wanted, so many barrettes, so many hair clips, so many hair extension pieces, and then assorted colors. And I had to present this to management. We had these little presentations, and it had a stage. I was insanely nervous. They had this little stage, and it was like rounded, and then they had the management sit out in the seats, and you'd have to go on the stage, and you'd have to show them, and they'd walk you right through it. And after you do it once or twice, it's okay, but in the beginning, it's totally scary. There's prototypes of the Princess Pony jewelry in different colors, and you see there with their matched sets. Okay, there were drawings of the Furbobs. I had to do front elevation, side elevation, rear elevation, and then those drawings, once they get approved, those drawings go to a sculptor. I only remember the name of one sculptor. His name is Kirk. He worked at Hasbro, he did a lot of sculpting, and I know they also use sculptors on the outside. I think he did these, but I'm not positive. So they sculpt them in a clay, bring it back, then the clay sample goes to where they make a mold, and then they do this, it kind of is like a latex type of thing. And I have the Furbobs. I will pull them out of my portfolio then if you want to see them. They're quite rubbery. They feel like the old G1 ponies. They're spongy. So that's the process of them. Okay, I think we did we do everything? I think we did everything. Oh, fairy tales. Do you want to see fairy tales? Yeah. Okay. If I hadn't seen that, I would have forgot about them. Okay, here's the fairy tales playset based on using the same mold as the Flutter Pony Hideaway in order to save on the molding, which is astronomical. Use the same playset, add different decoration to it, and use it for the fairy tales. So we had. It's shaped like a birdhouse, kind of. We had all kinds of little pieces that go with it, and then I had to do a color rendering there. You can move on to the next one if you like. There's a little, I guess that's a Polaroid of the color rendering. And then the wheel on the front of the house would spin around, so the bird was like riding the little handle on the house. And there was a prop on the top of it for a bird. As you can see, there's a bird on the top there. Those little stock numbers, or they kept numbers on everything. Had to do with copyright, I suppose. What else? But that's basic, pencil drawings first, and color renderings, and showing them to management, and moving on from there, making prototypes. It's all a very involved process. Oh, you can look at the Weebles just for fun. These are prototype samples that was yet another freelance project. You could work for almost any other department within the company, as long as it was okay with your immediate boss. And I used to paint these little samples for the model shop, and I just took a picture of these because I thought they were funny looking. Wait, they're not Weebles. I call them Weebles, forgive me, they are the little potato head kids. But I call them Weebles because I always joke about it and say, oh, Weebles, well, but they don't fall down. They're the potato head kids. But, you know, they would roll a little bit, but we had to paint them all identical. We had to use this paint called cell vinyl. And it's the same paint you use when you're doing the old animation cell vinyls. It's the exact same stuff. It's kind of a vinyl paint, comes in a tube or a cylinder with a little point on it. And it's very fussy to work with. But they had all kinds of great colors. And we could never get them. It's like, well, they give us this project and say, would you please paint these? I said, well, where do I get the paints? Oh, then go talk to so-and-so. It was like such an involved process. But once we got the paints, we were fine because they last forever. I actually still have some today. But they didn't, I mean, they probably, in LA, they'd probably sell them, you know, because there's lots of that kind of business out there. But up in Rhode Island, it was hard to get a hold of them. So anyway, and they had to be identical. They all had to be perfect. And that's why I wear glasses today. Okay, did we do everything? Yes, we did everything. So does anyone have any questions? Yes?
Can you just talk quickly about working with Sharon?
About what? Working with Sharon?
Yeah.
Sharon was one of the illustrators. I believe she lived in the Boston area, but I'm not positive. She could have been in the Providence area. And we would gather the information, like I showed on all the layouts, gather the information together, put in the color paint chips, the PMS chips, sometimes we give them the actual chips, pieces of the costumes, of course, and give them the package with the tight layout, and they had to follow that layout, and she would do the finished illustration and then bring it back. Here's a funny thing with Sharon. Our creative director always said, don't sign the art. You know, this isn't fine art, this is commercial art. Don't sign the art. She would, probably on purpose, sign her name the entire length of the illustration. Beautiful, of course, long and flourishy, but we always had somebody airbrush it out. She always signed it. I think it was just like this bantering thing. She always signed it. So, you know, other than giving her the information and the layouts, I didn't have a lot of direct contact with her really, because, you know, we put our package together and she would come in and someone would have it there for her to pick up. So I didn't have a lot of contact with her. I actually worked more with Judy Nelson because she did a lot of the pony work. Does anyone else have questions? Yes?
I don't know, do you still work in fashion design, or have you retired?
You know what, artists never retire. It's true, because you would be miserable, you know? I am of retirement age, but I still do work, but I am not involved in the toy industry at all. I have, in the last 20 years, done licensing, and the reason being, I lived in Las Vegas for 7 years. Before that, I was in Arizona. I worked for a gallery called Phoenix Art Group, and they did paintings for the high-end gallery market. So I painted for them for about a year and a half. It wasn't so very long. We relocated to Las Vegas, and I did paintings for the casinos. So it's a totally different business. It's kind of like every time you move, you reinvent yourself a little bit. So I did paintings for years, and while I was up there, I used to go to trade shows, and the trade shows all had picture framers and printers and interior designers, and I hooked up with a lot of publishers. So for 20 years I've been doing art publishing. Some of it is very commercial, where they print their product right, they print the art right on a product. A lot of the stuff I did was for a company called New View, which, by the way, they're down near Philadelphia. If you go into the stores like the Boscov's or Bon-Ton, which they're not there anymore, JCPenney's and Sears, I used to sell a lot of product from New View that had my artwork on it. They're like three-dimensional. Remember when the three-dimensional plaques were really popular? They're made out of resin, you may have them in your bathroom and kitchen and all. Well, I did a lot of that kind of work. Some of the companies I worked with do woven tapestries. So it's a digital process where they can scan the art, and it's some kind of digital weaving. They can reweave your picture. I've done a lot of that. And regular art prints. There are tons of publishers out there who do art prints, and they try to sell to the hotel market, the casino market, healthcare. So I've done a lot of that. I've had 2 publishers out of Canada. One was in Toronto, and one, I can't remember, I mean, I've never been there, but the other one is called Art in Motion. So I've done a lot of work with them. Now things are very different. People don't go to the stores and buy too much framed art right off the shelf. Everybody goes online and they order it. So now they don't have tons of inventory on the shelf anymore. It's like they print and make the product as it is ordered. So it changes the royalty quite a bit. You know, they always pay you a royalty when they sell. They don't buy the original from you, they pay you a royalty for using that image. So the art on canvas, like the canvas boxes that you see everywhere, they usually pay 10 to 12% of whatever the sale is. Other items like greeting cards and such, plaques, it varies greatly, anywhere from 3 to 7 or 8% of the sale. The thing is, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if they sell to a nationwide chain, then the volume is nice, and you can get a nice check from it. And it used to be very lucrative business. It's not anymore. I don't do much of it. I just do a little of it, and mostly now I just do custom paintings when somebody asks me for something. Like I recently did a painting of Disney World for someone who was a Disney fanatic in Disney World. I do a lot of traditional, because where I live, they want traditional things. I actually like to do abstract and contemporary things, but there's not so much of a call for it where I live. So, and that's that. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes?
For the packaging, what was your most favorite thing to work on?
I don't know that I had a total favorite. I can't really say. You know,
Or is
I
there
just
one
feel-
that you found that was like really
Like
challenging?
a favorite product, maybe?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I really did like working on the ponies. There were so many of them, and it got to go quick. You know, when you're drawing them all the time, you can pump them out pretty quickly. I did like to do the ponies. I guess I'd have to say that. Forgive me, Jem. Yes.
What do you think of the difference between toy packaging for girls these days and the way it was back in the 80s? Like either the process or just the general design?
I think the design has changed somewhat. When I worked at Hasbro, girls worked on girls packaging, girls toys, and boys worked on boys toys, and there was no in between. I don't remember with Play School, I think it was mostly girls working on it, because they probably were thinking the mom syndrome, mom attitude, but I'm sure they're quite different now. I'm sure they are. As far as the packaging goes, I don't think I'm around it enough to compare. However, I have seen a lot of the pony reproductions that they're coming out with, like the 35th anniversary, and you know, every anniversary they do redo a certain pony, and the packaging isn't the same. They don't put near the effort into the illustration. I know it's always about the bottom dollar, which I don't like that, but you know, it's a fact of life. They, I don't know, they're very simple now. When you put them on the shelf, you see the window. The windows aren't even creative. It's just a rectangular window, curved corners most of the time. The clouds are very generic. Sometimes you hardly see anything on the front of the package. If you turn to the side, you'll see it, but you know you're not going to see that on the shelf in the toy store. So it's very discouraging to me. Anyone else have it? Yes?
So when you were approached to do Jem, what is the process? They give you a toy, did they give you a backstory, and did they tell you this would eventually be a cartoon?
No, they don't usually tell you. They don't usually tell you, but they didn't really talk about even the My Little Pony movies. They didn't really talk about it to us. They just, especially with packaging, they say, okay, this is this line, and here are these outfits, and we have to cover all of them. So you had to have, it was all about being accurate, especially on the back, and then on the front, had to be accurate so the illustrator didn't have to change anything. But they always would give you the costumes, or you had to go hunt them down. You know, they say, we work on these lines, so often you'd have to go to R&D and say, okay, and walk around, who's working on this? I really need this, I got it, you know. So, and sometimes they wouldn't have the outfits done. You'd have to wait for them because they were always, you know, in the back there sewing, and lots of those sewing machines. And then in R&D at the back, before you hit the model shop, there was a room, and I can't remember what we called it. It was like a library though, and it was like floor to ceiling of drawers, all different kinds of hair, buttons, eyes. It was really fun. Fabric, all kinds of fabrics. So I think when the people created the costumes, they'd go back there and look at the fabrics and say, well, I'd like this and this together, and they would create the initial costume, and then they'd have to get a finished piece made for us so that we could portray it accurately on the package. I think, like, you know, you had to hunt down things a lot. And I think it's because everybody was so busy. They did so many lines and they expanded so fast with so many lines at once. It was maddening. You know, I used to go into work at 6 a.m. just because of the traffic. I only live 16 miles away, but I would go up because I didn't want to deal with the traffic. It was horrendous, so I would go up early and I'd sit there early. And I loved what I was doing so much. I remember one day I was sitting at my board. I was airbrushing or something. My boss walked behind my board. He goes, "Hey, Ruth, you gonna go home?" I had, you know, little things on. I was listening to music while I was painting. I looked up and it was 6 o'clock. Everybody had gone and I didn't even know it. I mean, that happened to me fairly often. And I think it's just because I really liked what I did. It was lots of fun. So I'm sure it's different now. They'll have to turn their computers off at night. Yes?
That actually makes me think of a question. Obviously, you work primarily in real media, but do you work in digital media ever?
You know what? I learn as I need to. I've learned some Photoshop work because when I do art for publishers, I have to scan it and give them complete files because it's very expensive. And you know, in the old days, you send them, you roll up the art, you put it in a tube, and you mail it to them. And they pay for the shipping, and they give you a number or whatever. And, but then it got so competitive, they expect the artist to do everything for them. So I'd have to scan it, make sure there's absolutely no dust on it, you know. And so I learned Photoshop because of that. Piecing the files, you know, sometimes you'd have a big piece of art and scan it, you gotta piece it all together and it has to make sense. So I learned Photoshop. I'm not a pro at it by any means. I learn it as I need to learn it. I have yet to do InDesign or anything like that. I don't even know if I want to tackle it. I think I could learn it, but it's just, it takes time. I'm sure there's pros out there in this room that you know how to do all this work. Yes?
So with Jem, were you involved since the very beginning of the line?
No.
That gradient, that the main thing.
The gradient part of it, not on the packaging, no, but on the posters, yes.
Okay.
Mostly the posters, a handful of packages I did, like just like the pencil drawings, just to get it through to the illustrator to do the finished piece. But I didn't work heavily on that line, and I'm not sure who did. They may have farmed it out. When I started there, they had two other artists in girls' toys, and what they were doing is coordinating, spending all their time gathering the pieces together, putting them in a folder, and sending it off. They weren't actually doing any of the work. So they were doing all the coordinating. But when they hired me, I think they hired me in order to keep the work in, because when you're sending it out, it's just, you know, you're paying more people on the outside. So when they hired me and started giving me the layouts to do, I didn't have to gather that information and ship it off to someone. So it saved them a lot of money without me realizing it. I didn't know any better. You know, I just wanted to work there, and I really liked it. So, we would do. I remember the first year I was there, we did at least 4 dozen pony boxes alone. And that's just the ponies, and there was all the other stuff, the illustration, and you know, the line drawings for prototypes and things. So it was a really busy type of job. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised to tell you if this was one of the first companies that I know was actually good to their employees. They used to give us treats. We'd go into the lunchroom we had a pretty big cafeteria. They'd have like an ice cream social for us. One time they had a rock band. One time they had a sushi bar. And you know, it was just like that you wouldn't know it was going to be there too good. And so I think they were really working on trying to be good to their employees, because happy employees are going to, of course, be more creative. So it was a good experience for me. I know people who work there. I've met some other pony people even who worked there years before me, and they were not happy campers, but things changed. And even when I got there, I was already in a different building. They had, you know, older buildings and not such good working environment. I was just blessed, I guess, fortunate. Is there anything else? Yeah. Yes?
Have you met any other people throughout the years who worked on Jem in any way?
When I was in Arizona, Judy Nelson came out to Tucson, and she came in it was a total fluke. She came in my store. I had a shop in Bisbee, which was a town like 6 miles from the border. And she came in my shop. I recognized her right away. Who else have I seen? I saw our art director in Rhode Island, so she must have been visiting. I don't think she lives there. But I saw her just this past summer when I was in Newport, my favorite town. And Who else have I seen? Not too many. I don't know, not too many of them. I have to say not enough, you know, not enough. Be nice to see them. I ran into one woman who worked in soft goods, and she was in Newport. This was back in the 90s. I was there for a summer. And I ran into her. She recognized me, and I recognized her. We just didn't know each other's names, but you know, artists never forget faces. So I would say under a half dozen people. I wish I'd see more of them, but maybe someday. Is that it? Anything else? I hope I've entertained you well enough.